G'day everyone, I'm the Red Scar. This is Red Scar Gaming. Today is my summary of my fourth draft for Dominaria United, where I suppose tested is the word, for a defender tribal deck is basically the way to phrase that, I suppose. It's more or less control, and look, long story short, I did not do very well. I won my first game and that's it. But so yeah, I don't think that this deck did very well. I certainly enjoyed it, but I suppose the summary of this deck will be a bit more, how could I improve this particular deck? Not necessarily winning more often, though, but I think that in general, the defender cards I probably couldn't have gone with, but is there some way that I could have made this deck better? I'm sure I could have phrased that a little bit better somehow, but yeah, I'm Australian, so I'm not great at English. But yeah, as per normal, I'll go through each card and talk about it. Clockwork Drawbridge, I think is probably, I maybe didn't need three of them. It's a little bit, perhaps too much, just control. So I suppose with the power of hindsight, Clockwork Drawbridge is better in just a control deck. Though I still would have kept at least one, just because you play at turn one and your opponent basically can't attack for 2 turns, which is useful if not game winning, and it can be pretty useful in the tap target creature ability. So even if you don't win games because of that, it's very useful. Battlefly Swarm. Even when I drafted it, I said something to the effect of, it's basically, I just give it Death Touch, sack it, destroy target attacking creature is basically what it is. And the fact that it has flying is really good. It did a little bit of damage, but in this particular deck, oh, excuse me, that was a burp. In this particular deck, I think it did well. I'm certainly not expecting it to do tons of damage and all that, but it is that one destroy target creature. Bone Splinters, I didn't get much of a chance to use. My intention is basically with that sort of thing, that if my opponent does something to the effect of destroy target creature, in response, I sacrifice that creature and destroy someone else's. Though I suppose in that particular regard, Bone Splinters probably isn't great because it is sorcery speed. So you sort of got to want to sack it, or at least have. I suppose it would have worked better if I got Wingmantle Chaplain out a little bit more, because to sack one of the tokens, comparatively, who cares? Destroy something bigger. Artillery Blast, I think I only got to use once. It's a good card. I know it's not amazing, but yeah, it has its moments, and I think the Orzhov control aspect of that, it does well. It's good for 2 mana, I think, is probably the way to phrase that. Benalish Sleeper, I sort of said when I drafted it that I'm not intending for it to be particularly influential. It's basically a way to destroy a creature. Now, whether that's the sacrifice, make your opponent sacrifice something, or use it to block something with 3 toughness, that's fine either way. So I think it worked well enough in this deck. It's certainly not perfect, but yeah, I just didn't get the opportunity to do anything else. Destroy Evil, I think, is just generally a good card in white anyway. I don't think I got to use it as much as I probably wanted to. That just might be a little bit of bad luck. I think Battle Rage Blessing is probably the only card that I'm just, at least in this circumstance, just unhappy with. At least 4 copies of is probably a bit too much. Yeah, 1 sure, 2 even, but yeah, I don't think, with the power of hindsight, I don't think I needed 4 of them. Blight Pile is definitely one of the cards that were my win condition, and in fact I'm pretty damn lucky that I got 3 of them. It was the first game that I essentially won because of Blight Pile, and it would have been doing, in that particular case, 21 damage in at the end of my opponent's turn plus the start of mine, so it was very much the win condition, and it would have been really good. I just didn't quite get the opportunity to use it as much as I'd hoped, and I'm thinking if that's actually because I didn't have, as you can see there, I have 15 land instead of the supposed to have 17, because I know my mana curve is pretty low, but maybe I should have kept the 17 in there, probably say, just off the top of my head, dropping 2 Battle Rage Blessings, so I can have the mana to activate Blight Pile, or in fact any other ability, more often. How much of a difference that would have made, I'm not so sure. But yeah, that's think about it as much as you want. Gibbering Barricade, I didn't get the opportunity to use the sack a creature bit, but it's... Oh, excuse me, hiccups. My voice is doing lots of different things right now. Anyway, Gibbering Barricade is probably the better opportunity in a similar fashion to Bone Splinters. I can actually use it as a target creature blocks, it's going to die, may as well sack it. But at least in the opportunities that I got, I was saving that 3 mana, that same 3 mana, to activate Blight Pile. So at least in this set of circumstances, I don't think it did very well. It's certainly not bad as a 2/4. The fact that it can block a lot of things and get away with it. Should I have drafted it though? You probably should have, but I mean, there's nothing else I could have chosen really. Shadow Prophecy is certainly good, has its moments, but it's a little better in a 3 or 4 color deck. But as I said when I drafted it, it's good enough. I did mess up the first time I used it though, but anyway, that's all right. Wingmantle Chaplain, definitely one of my win cons. It can make you just go, look, I've got tons of birds, you attack for days, I don't mind what happens. Either used on the defensive because I've got 15 chump blockers, so I can activate Blight Pile as often as I want, or I've got some things in air that you can't block, I'll attack, win in 3 turns or whatever it is. So it's definitely a good card, but drafting for the Defender Tribal, I was pretty sure going into it that I wasn't going to win 7 games straight away or something. It's a defensive, slow control deck, so it's going to be hard to play anyway. Sheoldred's Restoration, I'm a little surprised that I didn't get as much use out of it as I was sort of hoping for, though with the power of hindsight, if you pay 4 mana for it, and lose, even if it's like, say, for Blight Pile again, you lose 2 life, is it worth the 4 mana? At least in this deck? Yeah, that's actually an interesting question. It's definitely worth it if you go 4 mana for, just off the top of my head, say, like a 10 mana creature or something. I can't think of anything. A 10 mana creature that, sure, you lose 10 life, but you win the game next turn or something like that. It's definitely worth it then, and if you kick it, it's still, 7 mana for something that you gain a little bit of life, you don't lose some life from. Anyway, forget what I just said. You gain some life if you pay 7 mana and you get a creature back, so you basically can get a turn back. Whether it's worth the 7 mana for it in this deck, probably not. So I probably shouldn't have got Sheoldred's Restoration out. Though it's definitely a good card in the right circumstances. I just don't think with a mana curve this low, it's probably not as good. Shield Wall Sentinel is definitely a good card in the situation that it's sort of designed for. Like you play Defender Tribal, it's definitely a good card because it is essentially 3 copies of Wingmantle Chaplain, Blight Pile, even Clockwork Drawbridge if you really want. Though, I suppose something worth noting though, 4 mana 1/3 is certainly not worth it. but 4 mana to make sure you draw your win condition is because it is ultimately a tutor. So if you think of I can't think of the name of it just off the top of my head now for some reason, but yeah, the 2 blue and 2 to tutor any card. If you're playing pretty heavy on defender anyway, it's pretty close to that. Plus, it can block if you really need to. So yeah, Shield Wall Sentinel is definitely a card I wanted in this deck, but 3 of them maybe. Yeah, I think I'm still happy with 3 mana. Writhing Necromass, sorry, 3 copies of. Writhing Necromass, as I said when I drafted it, look, I am pretty happy with at least occasionally just having a big dumb creature and that's it. I did get to play it, was it game 3? I did get to play it twice pretty effectively, partly because my opponent returned it to hand, but I did get to play it for 1 black mana, which, look, when you get to do that, it's just a damn good card. There's sort of nothing you can do about it in that sense. It's a good card. But of course, the situation has to rise. I've played it in lots of other drafts before. Even if you end up paying even just 5 mana for it, which is dropping it by 2, it's still a good card. If you pay anything lower than that, it's pretty damn useful. So I'm glad I had a card like that somewhere in here. Writhing Necromass might not have been the best card in that sense, but it's the one I got, so that's the one I go with. Yeah, about my 15 lands, I probably should have kept the 7. Dropping 2 Battle Rage Blessing is probably what I should have done. Though, yeah, that's the power of hindsight. As far as the other cards, Benelash Faith Bonder, yeah, I wouldn't have got any use out of that. I did consider splashing in blue, and Coral Colony is a particularly good card in that sort of sense, because it is 2 mana for something with 4 toughness, and frankly the rest of it's comparatively doesn't matter, because you play it turn 2, your opponent can't attack for a few turns, or at least can't attack effectively for maybe 4, 5, 6 turns even. So it's a good card, though. As I was considering, Haunting Figment I certainly wouldn't have kept if I'd gone blue. Impulse I might have. So, yeah, maybe I could have gone drop all of Battle Rage Blessing, and I know it's not useless, but okay, let's say 3 Battle Rage Blessing and 1 Bone Splinters for Coral Colony, Impulse, and 2 more lands, though I'm still a bit tentative on if the 2 more lands would have been particularly good, because I do know I'm on a low curve, and yeah, but I do need to keep some mana up for those activated abilities. So yeah, I think I would have only been using them for Blight Pile though. Anyway, when I started this draft, if you watched that video, I did play at least somewhere in there. I sort of considered, should I go say half defenders, half dragons. Which is why I've got several red cards in here, and quite aggressive cards actually. But with the power of hindsight, I didn't get many options as far as dragons, so I'm sure they would have basically just been, instead of Writhing Necromass or something of that effect. And the third colour, because I think Shadow Prophecy is the only card I got that has Domain in it. Wow, excuse me, I am hiccuping. I don't know why. Anyway, Gear 2 Amplifier is certainly not for this deck. Thrill of Possibility is one that if I had splashed red I would have gone with. Though, otherwise, red-wise, I probably would have only gone Dragon Whelp and Rivaz of the Claw, which, yeah, as I said just before, is... I just didn't have enough dragons, and maybe that's just bad luck, but that's part of the draft. You sort of got to work around your luck a little bit, which is one aspect of draft that I particularly like. It's something like, yeah, sure, Dragon Whelp is an excellent card unless you're playing mono blue. So yeah, you gotta draft properly, if there's any way to phrase that. Scout the Wilderness, yeah, certainly wouldn't have splashed green for that. Salvage Manor Worker was partly while I was thinking going Mardu, because you can sort of then fix the colour that you needed. Meteorite I just sort of got a little bit unlucky with, actually, because I really didn't need Meteorite too often. I could have maybe gone with one, because it's not useless, but it's, yeah, and I would have only done that in 3 mana anyway. But yeah, so overall, sort of as I said before, I pretty much knew from the get-go that I wasn't going to be playing tier 1 power deck, but yeah, I'm happy enough with how it went. But yeah, I had fun, but I knew I wasn't going to win particularly well. I have, as I think I noted in one of my games in particular, I have actually got basically a version of this in that sees play in Historic, actually. So, and it's okay, sure, it's not tier 1, but it has its moments. So maybe I should make a video of that at some stage. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I should stop saying because I don't actually do that much thinking. I'm just trying to remember to breathe. That's probably it. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll do another draft soon.